Thank you. It is my great pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the Celebration of Rhonda's Life Committee, the organizing group that has put this together. As you heard in the music, our theme, Gracias a la Vida, we hope will make this a day of celebrating life, celebrating Rhonda's life, and celebrating with gratefulness for life that she taught us herself, particularly in these last 4 years, as she went through her journey of the end of her life. And we also welcome this day in honor of her 66th birthday, last Wednesday, September 15th. And we remember her particularly on this moment of the time of her birth and the incredible, beautiful weather outside that Rhonda loved so much. This event is really only a small sample of the incredible remembrances and tributes to Rhonda's life and work that have poured in around the world since the day that she died. These also include events being held in Nicaragua, Paris, Costa Rica, and Uganda, and tributes on the extraordinary blog that her friend Maureen and Anita put up. There are now over 120 people from over 30 countries who have shared photos, remembrances of Rhonda, reflecting the global community that she built and that we are all a part of as our being part of the life of Rhonda, ranging from Argentina to Burma to Ethiopia to Germany to Japan to Malaysia to Serbia to Sierra Leone to the US, 30 countries of remembrances of the life of Rhonda. I printed out many of those pages because initially we thought that we would read some of them to you. And in fact, some of them were written particularly with the hope that we would read them, but we discovered it was just too much. It was too many, and it was too hard to choose which ones to read. So instead, I want to refer all of you, if you haven't already done so, to please go to her blog, to read them yourself. It's an incredibly moving and also uplifting way of remembering all that Rhonda brought to our lives. And the testimonies range from Albie Sachs of the South African Constitutional Court to Ivanka Korte, the valiant chair of the CEDAW committee throughout the conference of the 90s, to the over 35 voices in Spanish that were gathered by Radio Fire International. It's really an extraordinary collection. And it shows us what we all know and why we're here, which is that Rhonda touched so many people in her life, intellectually, politically, socially, personally, in every way. Her life as a fierce pioneer for gender justice, for all the social justice issues that she led in her time as a creative legal mind that literally never stopped. We all remember many a night that she wouldn't go to sleep, and therefore whoever was working with her couldn't go to sleep either, because her mind simply never stopped thinking of new and creative solutions. We remember her as a generous and demanding teacher who has helped to launch many a life of work in social justice, and many of the people on the blog speak of her as their teacher, either literally in the classroom or as the many, many, many women around the world that she mentored along the way. And of course, we remember her as a tender and loving friend who took great joy in life in sharing her love for the beauty of food, of nature, of music. And in fact, her veracity for life knew no boundaries, personally or politically. In fact, it's very hard to make any boundaries between her personal and her political life. We tried when we first ordered the program, but then we gave up. And we know that everybody here will speak about her life in many, many different ways and many different levels. We also think and want to share with you that Rhonda is at last everywhere. Her ashes have been spread in many places around the world. And those of you who recall that she wanted to be everywhere, and remember that she arrived often when the event was ending because she had 2 others to go to, or remember a late dinner or a missed deadline because of all the places she was trying to be at once. I think there's a certain ironic pleasure in knowing that her ashes are now all over the world and being celebrated in the spirit that she brought to us of seeing no boundaries to her life and to what she wanted to say and do. I remember, for my own story, often saying to her sensibly when she would say, "We must do," and you can all fill in the blank. And I was the sensible one who would answer, "Well, yes, but who is we, Rhonda?" You know, is it you and me? Right. Who's going to do that? And I would think that I had maybe distracted her, only to find out a few days later that she had indeed gotten somebody inspired to take action. So those boundaries were, I think, in many ways, that she could have initiated the slogan, "Yes, we can." Or maybe, "Yes, we must," which is often what we heard from her. But her extraordinary power and this both stubbornness and willfulness, and at the same time, absolutely determined ability to stick with something, a case or anything else, whether it took 5 or 10 or 15 years, led to many of her achievements you'll hear about today. And it also extended her own life against all the odds. And one of the things we want to celebrate tonight is those 4 years that she gave herself by her incredible willpower to live, and the time that gave her to see one more opera, to make one more submission to the Inter-American Court, and to say goodbye to so many of her friends in such an extraordinary way. And to say goodbye to all of those who loved her, because love her we did. And this event, above all else, is about love. The people who organized this on the organizing committee did so because we were all touched so deeply by her as a friend. Yes, we admired her work, and we'll have people speaking about her work, but most of all, I think today we want to share what Rhonda meant in our lives personally, and how that also sustained the work. And I just want to say for myself, I'm sure many of you have this experience, hardly a week passes when I don't think about picking up the phone and asking Rhonda what she thinks about something, or telling her about some problem that we discussed, or wanting to know how she sees some new movie or some new cultural phenomena. And I think that, among other things, tells us how much she was there for us in all these different ways, and how important her ability to think about what did her friends want to talk about. And I know I had the experience, I'm sure many of you did. I could go weeks, even months, without seeing her or talking to her, and yet when I picked up the phone or when she called me, the conversation was as if it had never stopped. It was seamless. It was, once more, we were there in each other's lives. And I think it's this complex ability not only to take on the thorny and difficult issues, but also to be intensely interested in everybody else's life and in our life struggles. And I know for myself, I felt she had this uncanny ability to know when I needed comfort, or when I needed company, or when I just needed to go out to the country and get away from it all. That she was there. She was there when Roxana went to Burundi, and I suddenly found myself alone and vulnerable. She suddenly was there every time I wanted to go to a movie, or I wanted to do something on the weekend with her gang from Long Island and bringing me into it. And I think that that's something I see in all these testimonies, the way in which it's not that everybody was with Rhonda every day of their life, but she was there when you most needed it. Somehow that connection got made. And I feel that was how I felt with her, and that even as she had cancer, she was always asking, "And how are you?" In fact, she used to joke with me when I was complaining about various aging joints, and she would say, "Well, at least I don't have to go through that." So, you know, that extraordinary capacity is what we celebrate tonight, the ways in which she stayed and remained present to all of us as her friends, as her colleagues, as her students, as her fellow travelers on this road of political justice and gender justice and struggling for a new vision of life. And I know that you will hear from a dozen speakers here. You could be hearing from 10 times those dozen, and we will give you all a chance at the end to say something in the open mic period. But I hope that today will, for all of us, open up what we shared in our love and our life with Rhonda and give us a brief moment in this grief and in this time of loss to remember that also one thing she gave us, which is in this room today, is a sense of community and of being with each other. And so with that, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Ann Cammett. Thank you.